guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Sonia, aka Sonia Blade. If you are new here, welcome, and if you are returning, well, welcome back. Today is episode 4 of Tea Tales, and I do thank you if you are coming back to continue my journey. It is me telling the story of 14 years in the dental field, which I'm officially out of. You know, I do miss doing surgery though. I do. Surgery was my shit, and we're gonna get to that part, how I transitioned into surgery. I really liked doing the surgery part, and I do miss that. If I ever was to go back to dental, it would probably be to do surgery. We're gonna get into why I kind of got out of it, you know, at the end of this series. But I do know that this episode, I warned you last time, I'm trying not to get too personal. I like to divide all of my, you know, stories up, all my tea times up into different sections of my life. But I know it sometimes can be confusing, especially if you're new, that you're trying to figure out, okay, when was this going on? When was this going on? So I am going to give a little bit of personal detail. Now, if you are new and you have never seen any of my videos before and you're going through the tea tales, I do recommend, because this is going to really intrigue you. I did go through a very abusive relationship. I did go through a bad drug and alcoholic stage just because of that abusive relationship. Going through trauma, being traumatized, being just depressed and things like that. I was totally lost for almost 2 years, you guys. It took me a long time to find myself. It's still sometimes, even to this day, you know, I do struggle with, you know, PTSD and just learning how to love myself. Just learning how to love myself and say, I'm enough, and self-care. I promote that 100%. That is kind of what helps me. Just staying busy, staying active, taking care of myself, whether it's eating healthy, working out, making sure I go, you know, get my nails done, a pedicure, anything just like that. Anything small and simple. Just an hour of my time a day, even if it's just to go to Target. Nobody wants me to go to Target. I spend like $300 every time I go to Target. Yeah. Target's my shit. I call it Target. I feel fancy. Target. Doesn't have the same tone as Walmart. I don't walk in my pajamas into Target. Heck no. I'm dressed from top to bottom. But at Walmart, I don't give a fuck. Y'all don't give a fuck? I don't give a fuck. So I am gonna get a little personal, like I said, because I was going through a lot of personal stuff at the time. And it really did play a role in, you know, just how, kind of like what happened and where my mindset was at when it came to the dental field. I was going into my 5th year. I had got let go from the other job. You heard about that in the last episode. My son was just a baby. And at this time, I was going through a lot with his dad. Again, if you're new, go back and watch the Ivan videos. The Ivan videos kind of talk about where I was at, like, in my personal life. I couldn't at the time, I don't know if it's just because I'd never been through the experience before, if because I was young. I mean, I don't really know, but I couldn't cut myself off at the door. You know how they say, as soon as you enter the door of your job, you have to cut all emotions off, all your personal shit, leave it at the door because you have to work. I can do that now. I can 100% do that now. But back then, I couldn't do it. I could not do it. I remember going to work, crying a few times, just breaking down. You know, again, I was just a very abusive relationship, traumatizing, mental abuse, you know, verbal abuse. It was bad. It was really bad. Because when I, you know, got let go from Dr. M's, I really couldn't see myself going back to a private practice for a while. I wanted to be part of a private practice. That was, I felt like where I belonged. The customer care, just the way that, you know, the way they treated the patient, just how upscale it was, being able to do these certain procedures, you know, on these patients. Modernized dentistry came a long way. But at the same time, like, I just couldn't personally, like I said, cut myself off at the door. I was angry and bitter, and I was going through this like stage where I just didn't want to deal with anything. Walking in, I couldn't just be like, hi, Miss So-and-so, how was your day? Did you need this crown today? Like, I couldn't fake it. I could not fake it to save my life. I did finally land, and I wasn't there for very long. I think I was maybe there for 4 months. I was at All Smiles. I don't even think All Smiles is around anymore, but so I don't know if you know anything about the dental or medical field, but private practice and corporate offices are ran very differently. Corporate offices only care about production. They're like a cash cow. They just want the money. They don't care about the patients. They don't care about the workers. I mean, there are some nice offices out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking every Monarch and Mint Dentistry and whatever, but from experience, being in the field, knowing people that work at these offices, me personally working at 2 of them, I mean, they were Medicaid based, which means they got the lower income families, and they just didn't educate the patients very well. They didn't care if the patients were going to come back or not, because every single day they saw 80 to 100 patients just because they took Medicaid. And they just wanted to run through these patients, just get as much out of them as they can, just charge their insurance as much as they could. And so I know that every corporate office is like that, even now, even today, even the nice ones, even the really nice corporate offices. I know for a fact that that's their mindset. Their mindset is production, production, production. Now, don't get me wrong, private practice is the same way, but they want repetitive patients. They want patients that love to come to the dentist. Who the hell likes going to the dentist? Nobody. Nobody. You have no idea how many times I've heard somebody walk into my office and say, I hate coming here. And I'm like, we love you too, bitch. No, I'm just kidding. But it is like, wow, okay. But I promise, we hear it all the time. I care more about patients, like customer care. I wanted to be able to give my patients that personal relaxation. I wanted them to bring their family and friends. I cared about dentistry that much. But at this certain time in my life, like I said, I was going through so much personally that I just couldn't get my mindset right. So when I walked through the door, I had a I don't give a fuck attitude towards the patients, towards my coworkers, towards the doctor. Like, I just didn't care. I just was surviving. I was like in pilot mode around this time of my life. If you haven't watched the Ivy videos, I talk about where there's this part where I finally was living on my own with my children, and I was going through this bitter stage where I was faking like I was happy on the outside to my family and friends, but really on the inside I was still harboring so much bitter, angry darkness. And I was behind closed doors hiding the fact that I was still a drug addict and that I was still an alcoholic. And I would go to work like that. Like, seriously, I started working at All Smiles, and my day was getting up, smoking a bowl, because ice was my drug of choice, smoking a bowl. I drank 2 beers, and then I would go to work. That's at 8 o'clock in the morning, you guys. 8 o'clock in the morning. Then I'd go to work, go to lunch, go to my car, smoke another bowl, go back to work, finish work, leave, smoke a bowl, on the way home, get home, pick up my kids, make dinner, whatever. I still did my mommy thing. I still did my mom thing. Make sure my kids were fed, started smoking a blunt to bring myself down because I wanted to be able to sleep at night, and then put my kids to bed, and then smoke and smoke a blunt, and then drink some alcohol so that way I can come down, so that way I can get a little bit of sleep. Sometimes it didn't always work that way because I would be so addicted to ice that I would just smoke and then be up all night and then start my routine all over again. I don't know how I was able to function, you guys. I don't know how I was able to go to work. This is one part of my life where I can tell you that it was a blur. It was a big blur in my life. I do remember things and certain people, but I don't even remember the names of my doctor. Like, I was so mentally unstable and emotionally detached and checked out that going to work was just like clocking in, doing my job, don't give a fuck, clocking out and going home. That's all I cared about. Again, if you're new and you're like, holy shit, I thought I was getting dental talk. I didn't think I was gonna get this. Well, that's why I made this channel. This is just one part of my life, you guys. This is just the series of the dental world. But I did tell you the last time, I did warn you guys that I was gonna have to get personal, because my personal life did play a huge role in my dental life. So one day I'm driving home from work, and you know, the managers and the co-workers, they were nice people. I'm not gonna say they were not nice, but again, they just wanted you to show up to work, and leave. They didn't care about anything else. We really didn't get personal with each other, thank God. But I remember one day driving home from work, and I lived in this ghetto apartment. It was my first time being on my own. I lived in this ghetto apartment in Oak Cliff. Oh my God, it was horrible. Gunshots in the morning, you name it. So I'm driving home, and I get a phone call from the police. Apparently somebody had broken into my house, kicked in my door, and stole my television and ransacked my entire house. The apartment people were so ghetto, they did not care to fix my door, so I couldn't even leave my house. Like, I had no door. I had no door whatsoever. Like, the door was there, but it was completely fucked. I mean, it was kicked off the hinges. I don't know how the fuck they kicked this door in. It must have been a cheap ass door. I'm telling you, there's ghetto apartments. But they kicked the shit out of that door, and so it completely came off the hinges. So I could not just leave, because there was no way for me to lock the door. So I call my job, I'm telling them what's going on, and they ended up firing me. Because they were like, I'm like, well, I'm trying to get a hold of the manager. I'm trying to, like, the manager of the apartments. I was telling my manager from work, I'm trying to get a hold of the manager from the apartment, so that way they can come and fix my door. I can't just leave, because then the rest of my shit at my house could be stolen, which I didn't have much because I was poor back then. But I was like, I don't want anybody else to come in and like go through my shit. Like, I'm nervous. Like, I have no door. You know, it took them 3 days to fix that damn door. 3 days. In my personal life, I was trying to work things out with my abusive baby daddy. Again, we've already gone through this. Go watch the Ivan videos. I talk all about it. It did not work out between us. We, of course, ended up finally splitting up. And then that's when I kind of went through, well, not kind of. That's when I went through this amazing transformation of who I am today. Who I was 10 years ago was not who I am today. I'm a completely different person. And my transition happened at this time. So I was an assistant for going on 6 years. And I really, really just wanted to be a different person, like, period. And it reflected in my job performance, because I started to care about my job. I started to go to work and work super, super hard and put all of my effort into it, and they would take notice. Like, I wanted to go back to private practice. It was time for me to go back. In my personal life, I was getting sober, I was going to church, I was changing, I was doing all the things that I needed to do to become a better person. That reflected in my job performance. I ended up getting a job in North Dallas at a very upscale private practice. Really nice doctor. She was Middle Eastern. We're gonna call her Dr. P. Everybody gets code names. So Dr. P was super, super, super sweet. She did have a little crazy cuckoo edge to her, but for the most part, she did have a very nice office. She was very much about the patients, and I got hired on with her right when I was going through my custody battle with my son for my son with my baby daddy, my crazy baby daddy. And so I was very upfront with her when she hired me. I told her that I was going through a custody battle, but that I really wanted the job. So she gave me the job, and I was super excited. I mean, it was more money than I had made than what I was usually making, and the office was really nice, and I was gonna put my best foot forward, and I did. I ended up being her lead, and it was a very small office. There was only a few of us, but those girls, I worked there for 3 years, and those girls, I will never forget those girls. I actually kind of still keep in touch with one of them that worked there. I don't know what happened to the other two. I know they're still around, but I really, really did like working there. Everybody was super nice. we were all about trying to do great for the patients. We were all about her practice and just trying to build, and we just had a great connection. It was really, really smooth. I'm not gonna say that there was little bumps in the road, because I think in every office there is, but there was no scandals going on. There was no like any behind the scenes stuff with this office. Everything was pretty much what you saw is what you got. Now the doctor was, like I said, super sweet, but she kind of started going kind of crazy towards, that's why I said she was nice, that's why I stayed there for so long, for 3 years, but towards the end she kind of started going crazy. And I'm just gonna kind of briefly touch before we end this episode, because I'm gonna get into more great detail next time, but because this is where the scandals are gonna come back. But I ended up wanting to make extra money. This is how it started. I said, I'm a single mom. I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to, you know, I got a better apartment. I was doing better with the kids, but I was still kind of poor, you guys. Like, I was poor. I was a single mom. I had 3 kids. So I was just like, you know, I want to make more money. I want to do better. I want to go ahead and just get a part-time job, just save a little bit of money. And so I ended up getting a job at this new emergency office in Dallas, and it was brand new. That's kind of where I met my best friend that I have now. And so I ended up getting a job there. So I would work from like 7:30 to 5 at this one office. It was literally down the street. I would go work out at, there's a 24 hours, because I was really into fitness back then. So I would go work out, I would grab something to eat, and then I would go run to the emergency dental place. And they stayed open till 9, but we would sit there sometimes till, I think the latest I sat there was till like 12 o'clock. Yeah. And that was actually the first time I ever got introduced to surgery. The very first procedure I ever did there was called an incision and drainage, where this guy came in and it looked like he swallowed a golf ball. Yeah, it was an infection. It wasn't a golf ball. It was an infection. And he couldn't get numb, because when you have an infection that great, we can't numb you. Like, we could try to numb you, but the infection just eats up that lidocaine. So we tried to numb him. Guy just would not get numb. We ended up cutting it while he was not numb, but again, we tried. And then just squeezing all that stuff. Oh my God, this guy was screaming. He was a grown-ass man. He was screaming at the top of his lungs. Like, and I was just sitting there like, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen. Some people are made for blood and gore. I was. And I didn't even know that I was. I always thought that maybe I didn't like it, but I'd never been really introduced into it. So my first experience was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do surgery. Because like I said, they're an emergency place. So all the people that came in, they were open 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, sometimes 16. And people would just come in and their doctor office wasn't open, or they didn't have a dentist. So they always had some emergency going on. That's why it's called an emergency. So I got to see some really cool stuff. And I would go back to work and just kind of like talk to her about it, because I was honest with her. I needed a part-time job. So I would tell her like, oh my God, I saw this. And I could tell that it was kind of bothering her. Like, she would be like, okay. Like, I think she kind of was jealous, because maybe I was more excited about that stuff, but she didn't do stuff like that. She did cosmetic surgery. She did general surgery. And she was a badass cosmetic surgeon. Don't get me wrong. She was the best cosmetic surgeon I ever worked for. I'm not saying she's the best in Dallas, but she definitely did top-notch work. And her office was super nice. But she wanted to dabble in other stuff, so she decided she wanted to do implants. But I was also doing extractions and implants at this emergency place, and they were teaching me how to do that stuff. So when I would go back to work, I really wasn't trying to like step on any toes. I mean, I'm not the doctor, but she had never really done implants. She had taken a course or whatever. So she's trying to do implants, and they just were failing because she wasn't doing them right. So I would try to tell her like, oh, well, you're supposed to like do this or not do this. And she didn't want to hear it. She didn't want to hear it. She would get upset. She started acting funny towards me. She started getting on my ass all the time. So I knew that this job was definitely affecting her with, I guess, just how I was being. But again, I wasn't like trying to make her feel bad. I just was so excited, and I was getting experience that I felt like could help her, but she didn't want to hear it. She's the doctor, so she didn't want to hear it. I ended up deciding after 3 years that I wanted to do surgery. I wanted to do surgery. Surgery was where it was at. I looked into how much pay. You know, the pay was in specialty, and it's either you do braces, which I wasn't interested in doing braces as an assistant, or you do surgery. Those are the top assistants that make that much money. And so I wanted to do surgery. That's what I wanted. I needed something more challenging, and I wanted to make more money. So I ended up putting a 2-week notice in. I told her that, you know, I was, you know, gonna leave and I was gonna pursue surgery. And she was like, I knew that. She's like, I could tell just by the way you were talking about the emergency place. And so I left in good standing. I'm gonna stop everything right here because now we're gonna get into episode 5 where we're gonna talk about how I got into surgery. And working at this emergency place is how I kind of got my foot in the door. Get ready for the drama, you guys. The drama and the scandals are coming back. It gets so good. Like, it was crazy at the time, but at the same time, it was pretty intriguing, to say the least. But until next time, thank you for tuning in and listening to my crazy dental experience. And I know a lot of you, like I said, are new and you probably weren't expecting to get the personal stuff with it, but I do encourage you to go back and watch about my life. I've come a long way, and I'm doing my channel that's for the specific reason, to kind of reach out to those people. Not everybody is, you know, when you go to an office or a job, is picture perfect behind closed doors. We all have something personal going on, and I'm very just upfront and honest about it. I'm not hiding anything from you guys. But until next time, I do thank you for being here. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and the little notification bell in the corner so you know when I drop my tea times. Until next time, thank you guys. Don't forget to love yourself because you are all you have. Thanks. Hopefully we don't have no babies. I don't even wanna go back.